4th and 5th May 2024, the second largest gathering of world leaders, kings, presidents, rulers, prime ministers, along with delegates from 57 member countries of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation will gather in our beloved nation for this historic event. The theme of the summit is enhancing unity and solidarity through dialogue for sustainable development. It's a platform to foster cooperation, promote peace and drive sustainable development across the Ummah and the world at large. We call on all Gambians to unite and support the government as it strives to host a memorable and successful event. Let's showcase our hospitality, culture and the beauty of the Gambia to the world. Join us in making history. Let's stand together, united as one, to ensure the 15th OIC Summit in the Gambia is an event to remember. Together, we can make a difference.
Hello, our viewers, wherever you're watching us from. This is QTV This Morning. I am Ibrahim Suri Balde. We are back on another edition of QTV This Morning to bring you the happenings and, of course, review some of the stories making headlines. Be reminded this program is sponsored by the OIC Secretariat. We have few days to the OIC Summit in the Gambia. This time, Gambia is hosting the OIC. Now we also recognize the presence of our sponsors, that's Lido, Olinda, and of course the cow milk. This is the best product you can get in the market. The Lido coffee, get ready to conquer your day. And of course, if you are a tea lover, I'll tell you, Mr. Lover, tea lover. I mean, Olinda is the best you can ever get. You can compare these products to any product in the market. So get the cow milk. If you are a milk lover, you want to milk, well, milk with cow milk. All from Jay's Enterprises. And of course, well, Mr. Ade, good morning. How are you? I don't have to forget about you.
Please, I'm glad you didn't forget about me. And I'm sure right now all the tea lovers are loving the way that you introduced that.
Exactly.
That particular segment. So, yeah, it's great to be here.
Absolutely.
It's great to be here.
Yes, I mean, today on this program, I will be sharing it with Mr. Ade. We'll be reviewing the papers together. Usually, we get a guest to review these papers with us, but today, we are reviewing it together. We are going to do it side by side until the end of this program.
It's all right. I've locked the guest in a cupboard so that I could be here to review the papers instead of that guest.
As you know, the authorities responsible are also preparing for the national census. And of course, it's important for us to talk to them on this program. They will tell us their preparations and what are they looking forward, Mr. Ade.
Yeah, and they also have to tell me how they managed to do it in a country that doesn't have addresses and street names and house numbers. I'm sure they have a way of doing it. I'm sure it's not guesswork. It can't be easy. It's easier if you have these things. I know I keep going on about it, but a country as small as the Gambia, smallest country on the African continent, we should have street names and addresses to make life easy for so many things.
Well, I mean, yes, we'll come back to you, Mr. Ade. I mean, you know, it's important for us to be very serious with street names and, of course, you know, to be able to locate certain places easily. You know, we've been talking about this on the program for a very long time. Recently, we have seen some of these names, few numbers have been put on compound gates, you know, certain streets. But at the end of the time, you won't know the reason for, putting those there. So we would also be talking to them, you know, regarding how they are identifying compounds and, you know, how they are doing their calculations. Because, I think it's important.
They're what? You just made up a word. Calculation.
You love the way I mentioned calculation.
I love that.
It takes me down to the memory lane during my school days when my mathematics teacher will tell you, we are doing calculation.
Calculation.
You know, instead of calculation.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, so it will be quite a very interesting program. Yeah. And the Alcalo of Bara also dedicated 3 boats, to ply the people from Bara to Banjul, Banjul to Bara. And this is set aside for students. I mean,
Yes.
those that are coming from Bara and, you know, high government officials that are also leaving Bara to Banjul to work in other parts of KMC.
Sure.
So I think this is great. We'll be talking to him on this program.
It's a fabulous initiative, and it's been very, very well received. As we know, people for whom this is their daily commute, they've really been having a lot of problems based on the fact that the ferries were out of service. And so to have this, you know, we can only commend the Alcalo, really. It's a
Absolutely, yes.
great
I mean,
initiative.
leaders, when you talk to, when you talk about leaders, you lead by example.
Sure.
You know, when you are a leader, people expect a lot from you. You don't have to expect a lot from the people. Although the people, you need to expect a lot in another way because they have to be responsible. One need to take up your responsibility as a citizen or as an inhabitant of a particular community.
No, I agree with you. I mean, this comes up sometimes when we're talking about things like cleanliness. You know, we go out into the street and we see people who just throw rubbish into the streets. And, you know, that's about individual responsibility and people not taking ownership of the fact that, you know, this is the community where you live. Don't make it filthy. And don't throw things on the roads if you know nobody's going to come along and sweep it up. You know, that's not up to your mayor or your, you know, local councillor. It's up to you as an individual not to do that. You know, so yes, these people can lead and we can elect them to serve and in positions of leadership. But at the same time, there's a kind of personal ownership that people should kind of grab onto and say, okay, there are things that I can do as well to help the situation, to help where I live.
True.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, the Alcalo of Barab dedicated these boats for the transportation, but it's the responsibility of the people to take care of the boats.
Sure.
I mean, I mean...
And to show how much they appreciate the gesture
true.
by making sure, as you raised, like if somebody gives you a boat for free, don't get out of it and it's littered. I'm not saying that people have done that. But at least, you know, if they were thinking of doing that, please don't.
Take up your responsibility.
You know, take and, you know, clean it and so on.
Yes, exactly. Ms. Ade will head straight to the African code. Today is an Igbo code.
Yes.
Igbo.
Yes, you can say Igbo or Igbo.
Igbo or Igbo.
Either one is acceptable.
I used to, I mean, when I was going to school, we used to have a student called Tubi Oluwa Loba. In fact, it's long. I cannot pronounce it. Habib Tubi Oluwa Loba. He is an Igbo.
Okay.
You know, that's the first time I mean, you know, we were in the same class.
And
I mean,
he didn't call himself a Biafran, which is what the hardcore ones who want to break away call themselves.
So let's read the proverb. It is
Yes.
the biggest game often appears when the hunter has given up the hunt for the day. The biggest game often appears when the hunter has given up the hunt for the day. Igbo.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I guess if you took it literally, you know, you go out there, you're a hunter, you have your gun, you're looking for, and then, you know, when it's all over, it's like, oh, you know, the lion that was hiding suddenly comes out, or the big hyena that was hiding suddenly comes out when you've gone. But also, they have this thing about fishermen. They always say that a fisherman will show you his best catch or his biggest catch, and then he will say, boy, you should have seen the one that got away. It was twice the size of the one that I caught. So it's always the fish that got away that was bigger than any fish you've ever seen. You know, and I guess it's the same with hunters. The hunter will say, yeah, as I was going back to the house, you know, this big lion, 10 times the size of any lion you've ever seen. If I'd been, I would have been there to catch it, you know. But so it's kind of like that, you know, like the bigger one is the one that got away. But it's an interesting one. It's an interesting one because it's the one that kind of makes you think. The biggest game often appears when the hunter has given up the hunt for the day. So, you know, I guess they're trying to say, don't give up, persevere. You know, and if you stick around long enough, you might catch the big game or big fish or whatever that you're seeking. So yeah, it's I like these ones that make you rack your brain
and makes you think.
So what's your take on it?
Well, it's telling you never give up. Never give up the fight. You know, you have to push.
And you can't give up the fight.
Yes, absolutely. So I mean, it's telling you to move on, push. I mean, there's light at the end of the tunnel, as far as they did not cover the other side of the tunnel.
Well, you know what they said about the light at the end of the tunnel. There might be light at the end of the tunnel, but make sure it's not a train coming towards to hit you.
I'm telling you.
So you know that light at the end of the tunnel isn't always good light.
Exactly. So it's telling you never give up, push. I mean, sometimes you might walk for many years, you might push for many years, and you are just a whisk away from success.
Yes.
And you give up.
And you give up. And that's kind of,
you understand,
nails it, really.
And don't you think the hardest feeling or the most painful feeling, unpleasant feeling is you gave up at the wrong time, Mr. Ade. Someone will just come after all the years that you've worked, someone will just come and fiddle with it, just a little thing, and there's success.
Monkey walk, babu eat.
Monkey walk, babu chop.
You know, you've done all the hard work, and then, you know, like you said,
absolutely.
Just because you didn't have that perseverance, you didn't have that determination to stick to the end, to see the end result, because you just gave up, you just got fed up. And you know, because if you are a hunter, and if you go literally back to the quote, you know, you might have to wait and wait and wait, but you know, in time that patience will pay off. But if you give up, as you say, the guy who didn't wait and wait, he comes just as you're going, the big game appears, and bang, that person grabs that game, and you think, oh, you know, I was here for so long, and yet I gave up. So yeah, but it can happen in other spheres as well. You've done all the hard work, but you just don't have enough. You just get fed up. You think, oh, I'm never going to make this succeed. And you know, you've done this, you've done that, and maybe you just need to join this thing to that thing to make it spark. But you know, you've taken it from here to here, and you say, you know what, I'm fed up. This is never going to work. You give up, and then the other guy comes, he picks it up, he puts the two together, and boom, there's light. It works. You think, oh, if only I had persevered. So yeah, I like this one.
And whatever you do in life, you need to be consistent. You understand?
It's not easy.
You need to consistency. It's very difficult.
It's difficult.
Sometimes the reason for one to change depends on the situation at hand. Sometimes situations can make you change the way you are. You understand? So it's important for you to persevere. You keep pushing. You keep dreaming. You know, one day it will come to reality. My dad will tell me, if you are a charcoal vendor, charcoal seller, sell charcoal. Keep selling. One day, your piece will meet you there. If you are selling wood, or if you are selling something, just be patient. Keep selling. 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, 15. Keep selling. One day there will be peace.
Yeah, but this is true. There's a book about Cape Verde, where on some of the islands they can go a whole year without rain. And so the story is a much bigger story, but there's one particular central character in the story. He went and bought 1,500 umbrellas, thinking that there was going to be rain. And for 4 years it didn't rain. And then one day it started to rain, and the rain would not stop for a week. And guess what?
Really?
He sold out every single one of those 1,500 umbrellas. You know, he persevered. He hung in there with his 1,500 umbrellas taking up space in his store. But when it started to rain and rain and rain, suddenly everybody was running to his shop. I need an umbrella. I need an umbrella. And he sold out, you know.
True.
And,
your luck will come. At this point, we'll take a short break. After the break, the program continues. Be reminded, the program is sponsored by the OIC Secretariat and, of course, Lido, Olinda, and Cow Milk. We'll be right back after the break.
Aketa Gambia ise wotika OIC Summit Gianyina membekela abentang ani lulu njangoti abekela mekaro tilinani katafo atili lulu kan 2024 mansa kewolu presidentolu maralalu prime minister lu ani ngol meyalon ko wollebe bala andi dabe nyinka foto mentata fo banku taw lulu ani worowula wollebe benna na banko kan pour nyimbengo na membekela tari koti bengo ko mafango be men kachala wolem ka jankundir ke kilimbaya kilingola ani nyobuto katambi kachalu landa malu tema pour na banko la yirwa ani nyatota ibe kumandir ke la Gambia dingolu bela ka ke kilinti kama zakunda fasa ila simfa nyato yementa pour ka bembagia me yalonko motenyi nala ali ngana timinandi ya itandi na kyosano
na hada badiya ani na daji ko kendo me yalon ko duniya yallo wal ani ka fu manga ka tari ko di ngalo nga ka kilinti nga nyomuta ngaje ko nyimben tang ani lulu nyaw o ay fi summit Gambia kono mu benna di me yalon ko mota nyina lala
yaa ko laajte QCell jox la ko yokkute am na si suñ promo bu bees bii di suñu bundle mega promo léegi mun nga dugga si internet bi si noo ko buggee ak num gën a yombee jëndal suñ data bundle package boo bugga te nga am si wàññite bu màgg dialal star 303 hash pour nga mun a jëfandikoo internet bi si network bu gën a yaatu jëndal 20 megabytes data bundle léegi si juróom-ñaari dërëm ak genn wàlla bu dul loolu nga jënda biga bundle lu dem ba 20 gigabytes waaw dégg nga ma 20 gigabytes data bundle ak suñ mega promo bundles bi mun ngaa jëfandikoo internet bi waxtaan si lu yàgga ñu jokkale la saa su ne fu ne pour am si lu leer mun ngaa call QCell customer care si 111 QCell ñoo xaali yoon bi ñeneen toppa lii dafa ànd ak sarta yuñ tëral.
You are watching QTV this morning. We are broadcasting from our studios on Kairaba Avenue, The Gambia, West Africa. And of course, we are now heading to the newspaper review. We have the Point newspaper with us. And some of the headlines of the Point newspaper reads, Barrow Asso's successful secured OIC summit. And Mr. Ade, you were at the conference at the press conference
briefing, yes.
yesterday, and you know we've seen journalists gathered, and the president was answering some of their questions.
He was
accordingly.
He was indeed, and this was just to give people an update on what was happening and give them a chance to ask questions. Some were, you know, more searching than others. I mean, there was one question about the incomplete Radisson Blu Hotel, and you know he dealt with it and he explained why there had been delays with that. But of course, he also expanded on the fact that you know the majority of projects have been completed, and he also explained that these are all legacy projects. So even the ones that are not complete yet, once they are complete, they'll be here for a long time.
True.
The roads, once the roads are properly laid, you know, and properly maintained, you're talking about 25, 30 years of being able to use those roads. So, you know, he in response to the various questions, he was able to set out, you know, how prepared the country is in terms of security, in terms of accommodation, the number of guests that are expected. And you know, we can see there him walking on Bertel Harding Highway, and then, you know, at the press conference itself, or the press briefing, where he then took questions, and afterwards there was a kind of photo shoot with all the journalists, and then, you know, people could shake hands and have an individual photograph taken with him. So it was a nice vibe. And
Yeah.
as I said, he didn't duck any of the questions really. He
Yeah,
answered
I
them.
like the fact that, I mean, the president, you know, give the opportunity for the media to talk to him regarding the preparations for the OIC. I mean, you don't need to hide anything at the end of the time.
Well, that's right, and it's an important conference in the life and the history of the Gambia, and so you would expect His Excellency the President to come and brief the public about it through the media. And for those who were watching, it was carried live, it was streamed live on QTV, and they were able to hear the whole thing. It wasn't edited, it wasn't cut. They heard it as it happened. And, you know, we had been told, you know, that we'd be given a certain number of questions each. And I have to say, if there's one thing that was disappointing, is that, you know, journalists had been asked to send in questions prior. And then there was one journalist who really, he should have been embarrassed. He was saying, why was I not given a chance to ask a question? And they said, well, because you didn't send in your questions. Everybody was told to send in questions, and quite a while ago. And, you know, for me, if I didn't send in a question, I'm not going to ask that question. Why was I not allowed to ask a question? Well, simple. You know, you've kind of answered the question yourself. by the fact that you didn't send in a question. People were asked to send, so those who did were given an opportunity to ask questions. And I think pretty much, if you go through all of them, we kind of answered a lot of the questions, concerns, and updates that people wanted to hear, and the big one, are we prepared? Can we host it? The number of guests that are coming, international guests, and so on. And I think those questions were put, and they were dealt with, and they were answered.
Well, I mean, many people wanted the completion of the hotel.
Yes.
I mean, but we don't have to rush things as well. I mean, at the end of the time, the hotel is still going to be built. So it's important for us to take our time so that they can do a proper job. Doing the proper job and rushing it as well. I think we need to focus on the completed projects as well, because 85% of the projects are completed.
Well, you took the words right out of my mouth, but it's kind of human nature that you could have 85 or 90% completed, but the 10% or the 15% or whatever, that is what people want to concentrate on. We live in a world where, that which is negative is what we want to highlight or promote. And you just nailed it. The vast majority of the projects are complete. Why not mention and highlight those rather than the ones that are not? They far outweigh the incomplete ones, but why dwell on those? But that's what some people wanted to dwell on, not just yesterday, but you've seen it on social media as well. And the kind of, I think we need to get out of this kind of negativity mindset where, somebody can do 9 things that are good for you and you don't mention them. The one bad thing they do is the one that you would tell the whole world about. And it's kind of how we are as humans, sadly. So that's one. Do you want to take any other story?
Well, I wanted us to delve into the Fourier newspaper as well. I mean, I'm seeing a very interesting headline. I wish we could delve into it deeply. Magistrate convicts Gambia College staff for abducting student.
Yeah, it's an intriguing headline, and we were discussing it off air, and as you said, we wish we could delve into it, because it's the kind of headline that makes you look twice, that what? Gambia College staff?
In fact, the word that is used, abducting, I mean, that's the word for me, abducting a student.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
By college staff. Not just abducting, it wasn't some random person. Gambia College staff that allegedly, and it says convicted, so it's not just an allegation.
Then there's
a fact.
There's a judgment.
Yeah, there's a judgment. Somebody has been convicted of this. So yeah, like you said, it's an interesting one. And then to the left there, he says Barrow outlines reasons for not constructing 5-star hotel for OIC summit. We've just dealt with that.
The 4,000 security personnel for the OIC summit.
The biggest deployment of security personnel ever.
I heard the president talk about, when the journalist asked him, what about security? The president said, security is paramount, it's key, it's very significant. Security is what everybody relies on. So I think they are not taking security lightly.
They are not. When President Jomai Faye came the other week, I saw some people posting on Facebook, and I was forced to respond, because they were saying, oh, we wish Gambia was as secure as Senegal. So I said to them, well, here's a link to the statistics rather than the nonsense and the noise. Statistically, they have more murders, more robberies, even if you took it per head of population, way more than in the Gambia, in Senegal than in the Gambia. Can't even compare. So don't tell me it's more secure. And I discussed with a colleague here, and he said, yeah, he said, I follow Senegalese media. He said, and every day you're hearing about a robbery, you're hearing about a murder. So, people need to get real and know about, what is secure. And, if one murder happens here, shocking and terrible as it is, it doesn't mean people are getting murdered every day. So people need, that was my response. I said, no, Senegal are not the ones who are going to teach us about security. And as the president said, that is their paramount responsibility. You think about some of the countries that potentially might come, Iran and all these people, they've sent advanced teams to discuss with our security officials about the security arrangements, and they want to know, and you've had people here from the OIC, and they've talked about things, including, how much kind of security detail can you bring in, what weapons can you bring in to protect your head of state or head of delegation, as the case may be. And again, talking about that, His Excellency the President was asked, we've heard rumors that not all the heads of state will come. Well, as he himself said, how many conferences have I not been invited to and have not been able to go? That happens. It's the nature of things. Things might happen and things might come up that prevent a head of state. But as he said, of the 56 who are meant to come, all of those have said, we will attend in some, either the head of state or a very, very high ranking, government official. We will have a full complement of people.
Well, I have no doubt the OIC summit will be very successful, because we have people who really understand what it means to host a particular summit. When I saw Mr. Ade, Mr. Tunkara, and other people part of the media team, doing one or two things for them, I realized, this is where we are heading to. It's going to be successful, because this is not a child's play.
Yeah, what I liked about the Secretariat, the OIC Secretariat, is that they haven't tried to do it all themselves. So they've got 9 committees or subcommittees: protocol, security, accommodation, logistics, everything, media. The media committee that Mr. Tunkara and I are on is just one of them. But all of those have to work well, and they have to work together, because we're all working to one aim, and that is the aim is the summit. So for me, we shouldn't start patting ourselves on the back until, as I mentioned in the press briefing with His Excellency the President, I said the day after the summit is when we can look back, relax, maybe pat ourselves on the back and say, this went well or this didn't go well. And if things did not go well, can we learn lessons from them? Because if we don't, then nobody's going to want to come here to host another big summit. So this is a test for us. And it is one that we have to pass, and the only way we can pass it is to prepare well for it. And in the main, we've done that. Things don't always work smoothly. I've been working on a magazine that's going to come out around the summit, and I was here till 45 minutes past midnight last night working on it, because they had to go to the printers last night. And so when I left, there was no one else in the office, only the security guards downstairs.
Let's talk about police investigating officials of the Gambia Ferry Services. There was sort of a, can I call it a monopoly or something? They've realized there is a dubious act going on at the ferry service, where people are carrying out certain activities that are not called for, that will sabotage the operation of our ferry service.
And what sort of things were they doing?
According to what I've heard, allegedly, there are people that are taking fuel, stealing some of the fuel of the ferry. So this is sabotaging some of the activities. So the police are arrested some, and they are currently under investigation.
Yeah, these are the things, as you say. The ferry, as we heard them mention, yes, it's meant to be a commercial operation, which isn't quite paying for itself at the moment, but it's also a public service. And when people are stealing from what is essentially a public service that we all benefit from, then really, if they are found guilty, they should be shown no mercy, because, as you said, they're sabotaging something, and, for some people, it's their daily commute. That has now been hampered by the fact that the ferries are out of commission. Let's see where this investigation leads, and let's not prejudge anything. But if they are found guilty, then I think they should face full force of the law and the fullest sanction. That's
I think the issues of the ferries, it's really a difficult one. Yesterday the communications officer of the Gambia Ports Authority was here, and we had a lengthy discussion. At some point, there was almost a tussle between him and Jainaba Sonko.
Now, why am I not surprised? But anyway.
So, he talked about commissioning new ferries. He talked about, changing the engines of the current ferry, one of the ferries at the terminal. And there is a ferry at the Yes, exactly. So it's like we have the alcalde of Bara
Online?
on the line. We will talk to him, and you know, he will take us through some of the things that are happening in Bara currently when it comes to the crossing. He dedicated 3 of his boats, I mean, to help fly the people from Bara to Banjul. Assalamu alaikum alcalde, ñu ngi la dalal ci programme bi.
Wa alaikum salam Balde.
jërëjëf suma alcalde bi ñëw na
ci programme bi jërëjëf.
naka suba si.
jaama rek kay Balde.
jërëjëf lan moo nekk Bara time bi.
time bi suba teel bi daf dee congest bari client yaa ngay jàlla normally ñu ngi dem ñu ngi ko maintain ni ko nit ñi bëggee.
dëgg la fu mu nekk nii àddina bi yëpp ñu ngi laa seetaan fii si QTV.
dëgg la
gis nañ situation bi Bara fu mu nekk nii crossing bi dafa xaw a naxari tuuti mu ngi mel ni ferry yi doxatuñ. waaye nag yow ñëw nga joxe ay gaal pour crossing bi mun a yomba dañ bëggoon nga wax ñu lu tax nga jóg nga def li te nit yaa ngi koo defal nit ñi free of charge.
dëgg la li nga wax dëgg la waaye xam nga ñun dañ am ay kilifa. te kilifa yi li ñu bàyyee woon balaa ñëw génn àddina ñun loolu la ñëw dundee ba léegi. parce que moo tax ñu ne déggal sa kilifa dafa baax même su génnee àddina sax da ngaa continuer ni mu la bàyyee. ñun ci loolu lañ nekk Bara ba nga gis ne li ñu suñ kilifa yi bàyyee loolu la ñëw dundee noonu la ñëw demee. moo tax ñu mun a dem ak nit ñi.
dëgg la.
moo tax bi ferry bi amee problème nii ñun suñ boppa ñun ñoo toog waxtaan. na man maay boppa bi waaye nekkul ne man it am naa gaynde yu nekk suma gannaaw di ma puus. parce que àddina si kenn nit mënul dara soo leen joxantee loxo rek loo leen téye mu dem loo leen puus mu dem. lii moo waral alaaji am doole pour def lu bari ci dëkkaam. bi lii xewee ñun suñ force programme mooy am dem dimbali ji nit ñi ci ferry bi. waaw. naka la ñoo mun a génne ci ferry bi moom seen boppa balaa ñoo def leneen. ñu stop suñ gaal yi yëpp ñu ne ñu xaaral ñu tal doomu aadama yi nekk ci tolof ci ferry bi. ñu dem jàppale leen ba nga gis ne ñoom génn nañ du ko defee ñu door a commencé service. parce que doo déggee di service dafa fekk amul ñu nekk ci tolof nga lifin ñooñu séef ñooñu si leen ba nga gis ne ñëw nañ delluwaat nañ seen kër yi. biñ defee loolu bàyyi dem def moto yi yëpp mu def raayda yi ñu koolaan ñu dem jëli borom raayda yi. ci loolu lañ nekk ñu toogaat waxtaan ñu ceg géej gi ban waxtu lay am doole ñu programme suñ dimanche taaguwuñ kenn dañu wax ne duñ taagu kenn. dañoo bàyyi ba dimanche ñu taal fi ñeneenti gaal ak machine yu mag dem pour boot ferry bi ñu waxtaan ak ñoom. pour ñu dimbale leen pour ferry mu génn parce que am na benn saxaar boo xam ne dafa teeroon boori fii nii naka sax si Sénégal bi. ñu ko wax jës ka macaan ñun gaal yi benn saxaar dafa emoon foriñ dem teer ci bangi. da ngaa gis ne ñun ñoo dem éebi gaal googu dem oyof ñu taga ko ba Banjul da ngaa seet Sénégal fi mu nekk gaal yi ko taga ba mu agsi Banjul. ñu nag xalaat boobu lañ jëloon pour def yàlla bi ñoo xalaat loolu géej gaa ngee maaga waaye ñu nit ñu toog ba dégg ne ferry bi génn na ci time bi ñu joxoon one day different la. nga xam ne kon xam géej baax na torop.
dëgg la.
ci loolu lañ nekk ba waxtu bi affaire yi jàlla Banjul Bara bi. nit ñi dañ dee wax lu nekk la nit ñi di wax su difficultés amee lu nekk moom mooy am. loolooy dëgg war a xam ne difficultés fu nekk foo dem ci àddina mu ngi fa. biñ ñëwee ne pour affaire yi ñiy yóbbu students yi ak militaire yi ak docteur yi ak naka la tuddaati wokkat yi daal. waaye xam nga am na ñoo xam ne dañ nekk ci seen own mbiri bopp boo xam ne bokkuñ ci ñi nga xam ne gaal gi suba teel ñi moo dawale bu ñu dem pour ñu dem school bu ñu léet soldat yi nga xam ne ñooy garde réew mi pour bu ñu léet docteur yi nga xam ne ñooy faj nit ñi pour bu ñu léet ñun considération boobu lañ am da nga gis ne loolu lañ consider moo tax suba teel force gaal bi dafaa jóg suba teel xaar leen suñ ñëwee mu eb leen student yi buñ léet soldat yi buñ léet docteur yi buñ léet loolu bañ ko waxee ñu ne ñu nañ laa fay maye leen su fekkee ne da ngeen cee boole fay man alaaji man duma ci duga parce que lu xaalis bokka rek électricité bi dañ cee yaaka der
dëgg la
waaye li ñoo def yéen yéen ay xalaat yéen lan ngeen a def ñoom seen boppa ñoo ne dinañ provide essence ak petit cash boo xam ne xale yi liggéey ci gaal yi xëy na suñu wàccee ñu am luñ leen jox parce que xam nga xale bi nekk ci gaal gi yóbbu la andi la mu war a am lu mu yóbbu këram amu ko may leen loolu yëpp man santuma leen ko de yéen yéen a ko wax soo leen ko defee baax na soo leen ko defut baax na waaye man comme man dinaa jël suma gaal pour muy yóbbu xale yi suba teel ak soldaar yi ak docteur yi man loolu yaaga naa di ko def
dëgg la
noonu bi loolu xewee man xaaruma leen pour ñu ne naa start de man suma boppa at the same time bi ma jógee ci meeting bi BCC hall ci élection dama jos ñëw start di def suma liggéey comme sant nañ ma ko waaye amul kenn koo xam ne jox na ma gasoil amul kenn koo xam ne jox na ma essence amul kenn koo xam ne joxagum na ma petit cash xam nga sooy wax ci radio da ngaa wax li nga xam ne mooy digga
waaw mu set
waaw sooy wax ci télévision tamit àddina si yëpp ak laa déglu da nga war a mun a wax lu set da nga wax digga soo ci waxee lu dul noonu rek électricité bi dinañ la yóbbu
loolooy digga
waaw moo tax nag man foo ma fekk rek man damaa jaar ci digga bi jaar ci yoon du ma féebo kenn du ma féebo suma boppa du ma féebo poot du ma féebo kenn damaa jaar ci digga
digga la alkaaloo am na solo lool pour nga def loolu nga jàppale waaye mu ngi mel ni gaal yi ban time lañ dee start pour daw diggante Barra ak Banjul
7 o'clock 7 o'clock la ñoo start parce que fekk nit ñi ñu ngi leen a gis fekk soo gisee ni da ngaa xamee 7 o'clock la ñoo start
waaw
su ñoo wàcce tamit 7:30 la ñoo mooy programme bi nga gis ne Barra gaal gi ñëw dina agsi fii 7:30 gaal gi jógee ko fii la série dina àgga fale 7:30 ba pare ñun niñ ko programmé géej gi dafa dee neex daf dee naxari waaye ci ngoonaa ngoon si dañ jël gaal yi gën a mag ñu leen a dawal comme féeri bi ni moo dawee la série ñu jël gaal yi gën a mag ñu daw la série mooy 7 o'clock bi su starté rek gaal gu mag la ñoo jël taaj ko ñu stop gaal yu ndaw yi yëpp jël gaal gu mag moom mun a yóbbu ndesiti nit ñi nekk fii parce que affaire alkaalo nit ñi dee def fii man munuma leen a jox fuy fanaan munuma leen a jox luy lekka parce que dañ dee bari torop da nga xam ne ak nu mun a demee problème bi moo tax nit ñi di bari fii
waa alkaalo mbaa mun am nañ ay life jackets ndax providal nañ la life jackets
nguur gi donné nañu 1000 life jacket waaye dafa fekk ñun ñu am 3,000 soft life jacket pour doomu aadama yi waaw loolu moom mu ngi ci ñun bi ñoo laata donné parce que su fekkee ne life jacket bi moo laa may xaalis ci kenn nit ki laata bi li mu laa fay il faut nga jëndal ko life jacket ñun dañ seet gaal gi li moo passager yi ñoo fay ñu jëndal passager bu nekk life jacket waaw ci loolu lañ nekka
dëgg la waaye depuis buñ starté ba léegi amuñ benn incident
non xanaa sàccakat yu bon yi jógee ko fu nekk ñëw nekk si suñ biir di jël alali jaambur yi te foo dem am na yooyu foo dem am na yooyu xanaa sàccakat yi rek moo ñu sonal di jël alali nit ñi di jël alali nit ñi di jël mobile nit ñi di jël alali nit ñi
xanaa
am na loolu
amuñ sécurité comme sécurité nekkuñ foofu pour jàppale nit ñi
sàccakat sécurité mënul ci dara xanaa nga am log rek jàpp ko de waaye sàccakat kay moom xanaa suñ ko ne hope sécurité jàpp ko waaye sàccakat sécurité yaa ngi fa fees del du NIA personnel si yëpp a ngi fa personnel si yëpp a ngi fa te ñëpp a ngay def seen liggéey
dëgg la
amul ku deful liggéeyam.
dëgg la
ñëpp a ngi def seen liggéey.
dëgg la
su ma diggante ala laay wax.
waaw dëgg la alkaalo Alhaji Baboucarr Faye alkaalo of Barra ñu ngi laa jaajëfal bu baax a baax si loo waxtaan ak ñun fii si programme mi This Morning QTV.
dëgg la.
waaw ñu ngi ñun this is on our behalf nekkul ne yow yaa ñu ko waaye ñu ngi képp ku nga xam ne rek dégg nga lii pour nga mun a yokkal loxo si loolu xam naa ne alkaali moom mu ngi def ngir yàlla waaye tam am na ñu nga xam ne ñu ngi liggéey si gaal yi am na ñoo xam ne ñooñu tam borom njaboot lañ gaal yi dañoo soxla essence pour ñu daw machine yi dañoo soxla maintenance balaa suñ ferry di pare ñu ngi ñëpp pour ñu dooleel mu ngi mel ni fu mu nekk nii dem ak ñëw bi yéen a ko amee biiri Barra ak diggante Barra ak Banjul so ñu ngi ñaax nit ñi yëpp ñu dooleel alkaali bi ñu jàppale ko pour mu mun a yomba alkaali jërëjëf. jërëjëf kontaan nañ trop. Yeah, that's the alcalo of Barra.
It's a laudable initiative.
Yes.
And one that I think will be appreciated. And I think, as we were saying, that we hope that the people who are benefiting from this also respect the boats in terms of the surrounding of the boats and so on. But one of the things that I've mentioned many, many times, as we were speaking to the alcalo there, we saw shots of the ferry. It always seems overcrowded to me.
Yes, absolutely.
And really, we're kind of pushing it to its limit in terms of capacity, and beyond capacity, it would appear.
I think those are things that people should take note. I mean, these are little things that are really important. I mean, when they tell you the ferry's capacity is 100 people, I don't think you should take more than 100.
You take 200.
You take 200 or you squeeze 275. You push the 300 at that side. Plus the vehicle. I mean, I asked one of the people that worked at the ferry, that works at the ports, how many people does the ferry take? He said, actually, I cannot tell you. And these are things that are written.
It's written there, exactly.
The ferry comes with a manual. You need to know all those things.
And most of them, in the olden days, when we paid attention to these sorts of things, it actually used to be written on the side, licensed to carry so many people. And then POIDS net. That was the net weight that you could carry in terms of vehicles, and then of course it had a certain number in terms of people. It was meant to be written on the sides of ferries, buses, and commercial vehicles.
Exactly. Exactly. So, Mr. Ade, I think the review part is ending here.
I think it is.
Now we'll talk to the GBOS team as they are preparing for a national census. It's important for us to talk to them how they carry out these things and their preparations as well. It's important for us to engage the selection process as well. We will take a short break. Be reminded this program is sponsored by Lido, Olinda, Cow Milk and the OIC Secretariat. We'll be right back after the break.
Kiusel moy suñu boss. Kiusel moy suñu boss. Kiusel moy suñu boss. Go, ebe da full network suta tili QCell. Ni lafta diamla wati jamala mune diata QCell. Most reliable network dumala geta wati QCell. Wo quality man nyon sota jam pona manke QCell. Ani be wulo ni farole kono walante be bako na jala fayola network ko se taria QCell sunyu boss. Yo finjeka indi 3G ñu delu taxi 4G plus and now we bring you 5G. Nadema 5G. First and only 5G provider. Itella follow adi doron nesa keno. Gambia bela nyon tawo fele QCell. Ko fasunta buka busi QCell. Itella multi milka kukutol nati Gambia QCell meta lori la kilianol yele imanyina amanda wala itella ka quality dila dadi ma itelle silo wala wodol mume be keno ma. QCell sunyu boss. QCell sunyu boss. QCell sunyu boss. QCell sunyu boss. Connection of a bambandi QCell. Sunyu boss. QCell most innovative QCell. Sunyu boss.
You asked for it, and QCell is giving it to you with our new and improved Sunyu Bundle Mega Promo. Now you can get more data at cheaper prices. Buy any of our bundle packages and enjoy massive discounts. dial star 303 hash and enjoy browsing on the network with the biggest coverage. Buy a 20 megabytes data bundle for as low as $7 and 50 bottles today, or purchase bigger bundles up to 20 gigabytes. Yes, that's right, 20 gigabytes of data at your fingertips. With our mega promo bundles, you can browse more, chat longer, and stay connected on the go, anytime, anywhere. For more information, call our customer care on 111. QCell. We innovate. Order.
If you're just tuning in, this is QTV This Morning. I am Ibrahim Asuri Balde. Now to the last segment of this program. We'll be talking to the GBOS team. As you know, they are preparing for a national census, which is very significant. So most of us have been hearing the census, the national census. We've been talking about it, but quite a few people knows what it means and how they go through it. So we will be taking the team in the studios. They are already here. Gentlemen, you're welcome on this program.
Welcome, gentlemen. And we have to my immediate left Lamin Kante. Yes. And we have Sana Manjang. So Lamin, could you introduce yourself to the viewers? Tell them who you are and what your role is within the team, please.
I am Lamin Kante, working with the Gambia Bureau of Statistics. I'm principal statistician at the Directorate of Social Statistics.
Thank you. And Sana?
Yeah, I'm also the Deputy Census Controller.
Hey, that's a big post. Why did you leave that out? And Sana, please.
My name is Sana Manjang, not the other Sana Manjang, of course. I'm the Director of Coordination, Statistical Methods, Quality Assurance and Dissemination at Gambia Bureau of Statistics. Thanks for inviting us here.
Thank you.
We'll prefer to do English and a local language, as well. Okay. You know, for the interest of our viewers. Who's going to go with the English and local language as well?
With both of you.
Maybe one of you. That's Manjang. Maybe we can do English. You can go with English. Yeah. You can do Mandinka. So let's start with you. I mean, what are the strategies in place? You know, first of all, let's talk about let's talk about what the census means.
So thank you for inviting us to this morning show. As you've seen all over social media and various platforms, the Gambia is set to conduct a digital population and housing census for the first time in the history of the Gambia. In 2023, the first activity we implemented was to map the entire country, all the structures in the country and their GPS locations. That was the first phase of our activity. And now we are set to conduct the actual population and the housing census. And we have conducted a number of key activities, one of them being the pilot census. So the pilot census tests it mimics how the actual census will be conducted.
But just in a kind of control.
From the data collection to the end. It tests our systems, whether they are efficient, data transmission from the field to the office, whether it's working well, the tablets, the questionnaires, etc., how enumerators handle enumeration areas. So all these were tested during the pilot census. And we have successfully conducted this from March 5th to the 24th. And now we are about to conduct the actual census starting May 25th to June 14th. 1st June is census night. And we've just also, as you're aware, you at Paradise conducted a very important activity. That's the training of trainers. I think Kante will talk more about that because he's coordinating that. So we are urging on the general public to participate with our census official. As you know, census is a very important activity. Most of the indicators from the National Development Plan are based on the census. The SDGs also. And the data will also be used at the local level, both center and local, for planning purposes.
Yeah, because
so
if you don't know your population,
exactly.
how do you know what resources?
Exactly. So
absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah. Sure.
Yes, Lamin mba fole bismillah. Mo lafta ya fo mole muna mu nying census ti al lafta minkela.
Okay. Abaraka bake komi ni molba ya kalamuta sanyitang game banko kan ka kontrol ka banko be konti momo be banko kan akuma sakabo 1963 signing 73 1983 1993 2003 2013 fo sayme blan tada fo 2024 comme sanaya fo nyame nin census bina kuma sila nkan do kulal le janyandi banko kan ay ka tundol safi ka me enumeration area da tundo mi alon ko niya danaka niya konti mo ke melulu nyanda tarrajele nka fo le enumeration area so nka mol ki janyam banko ka be safi so wala ka kenna bunna fo because ni mo manke do ko buka keno wala ka tanina sulata mo jelle la da paso nyanta jelle fana nyanta min nyanta kala je so danaka wo ketale fatimata kabro bota je ko la nata lom pilot census kono coming census demande maringo wala pilot ti so ni banko kan jibi atata for almost 7,000 enumeration areas approximately that nyanta men interview kala damento bandinga pilot ken ka la dantane to bonje so kata kabo ma tele lulo kata fo tele mwande nani danaka banko kan adula tundu tang sei ngole to bonje ngana mol kije tata ye interview kije nim formo kadum mol ke la control kono ni ke kachandi census school la ba ne census jibe aka kaman sekunda ma ko kaji be depensiro men nyanta kala karamol kunto depensiro men nyanta kala jate kende akunto anin fanna jama mi an ko danaka man sekunda to depensiro kala no natara nyi imandu mol kay nyinki baro censu so danaka wobunna ketale wolen pilot tis kan kabrim pilot bota je sign nata moneke be nata sign nata na TOT ke wolen kamol karandi min ya lon ko ninge karani tel pareta itel fana nyanta tala mo dole karandi la pour ka interview conduct so ngo ke kabo nyin karo kono ateli 12 tanin flow kata foteli mo nin kilo dana ko fana bantale so sa nin ku ni programme banne fo nyanta kata kamol ki kata wol fana nyanta ka bawo ngetire na foy pareta sa kabrin ki ngetel tren foy pareta nte nyante telephone use la kote ke ina modol tren ka fal ko TOT so when step down
mo le nyanta finti la banda Mr. Manjang, what are we doing? I mean, what are you doing I mean to make sure there is accurate count of all demographic groups?
When you say demographic groups,
like how do you don't have to leave anybody behind to make sure they are all involved?
Okay, one of the is publicity, as you can, where we've been using almost all the platforms in the country to help us reach out to everybody, inform them about the census, its importance. We've engaged TikTokers, people with a lot of following on Facebook.
Various influencers.
We've contracted newspapers, we're using televisions. We've also contracted traditional communicators. They go to strategic places like ferry crossing points, schools, markets, community centers to talk to people and sensitize them about the census. And we've just went around on some logistic mission, and our impression is that the census, the message has reached a lot of people in the country.
Okay, so that's about sensitizing people.
Yeah, exactly.
To say, okay, this is coming along, get on board with it.
Exactly.
But what about, how can you ensure that everybody is counted? Essentially, you know, the actual counting. We're talking about enumerators going around, and how many of them are there, and what sort of training have they gone through to make sure that everybody who should be counted does get counted?
So we have a total of about 7,000 field workers comprised in enumerators and supervisors. As Kante mentioned, we've divided the country into smaller areas called enumeration areas, and if one field officer, enumerator, will be assigned to count the people and structures within one enumeration area. So it could have a population of about 60, depending on number of households. No, population about 500, number of households 60 to 50. So it's manageable by one enumerator, and it's the responsibility of this enumerator to visit all the households in that
which is what I was
and make
getting
sure
at.
that everybody is counted.
Okay.
Citizens and non-citizens.
Yes,
as
of
long
course.
as
you're living in the
country. Yeah.
Sure.
And we also want to inform the public that it is obligatory. It's mandatory for everyone to respond to the census as per the laws of the Gambia. It's unlike other surveys where it's voluntary to respond. But if you are living within the boundaries of the Gambia, you are obliged to respond to the census question.
If I can just pick up on the point you said to respond, we have a lot of people who cannot read or write. When you say respond in what way? How are they meant to respond? Is it by just by speaking to the enumerator, kind of one-to-one, because it's not written?
In the language they understand. In fact, that's why when you look at the recruitment platform, what we have there is languages fluently speaken by applicants, those who are applying. And people misinterpreted this to mean ethnicity.
We had the issue discussed.
The recruitment platform does not have any question on ethnicity. What we have there is languages spoken by the applicant.
Exactly.
We take up to 3 languages. So if you are a Fula, you can take Fula, Mandinka, and Wolof. And this information is used for teaming purposes. Because if you are deploying teams, you need to send them to communities that can understand their language. You can't send someone who speaks only Mandinka to a predominantly Fula community. He will not be able to. This is why we collect this information. But there was no ethnicity on the recruitment platform.
And that's why I wanted to.
What we have on the census questionnaire, we only have it on the census questionnaire. And on the census questionnaire, Fulas are all grouped under one, Mandinkas all under one, Karoninkas, Jolas all
Why do you have to put Jolas on top of Fulas? You have to be on top always. Fulas need to be on top of Jolas. That's just a joke. So what technological tool are we using to streamline data collection and processing?
Because you mentioned pads and laptops.
It's important for us to know.
So in addition to the CAPI system, the system that will be used to collect the data, we also have a dashboard with various indicators. So this helps us to monitor in real time various statistics, including how many people, the number of people in the Gambia, fertility rate, various demographics. So this will be also done in real time, meaning as soon as the census is completed, very quickly we can know how many people live in the country, unlike the paper-based census that was
and also you're splitting in terms of age groups as well. So
exactly, disaggregated. We have a lot on our dashboard. We have a lot on our dashboard.
Move. I mean, afomole demanding mol milialon ko itolle bita pour kaje ko ye mol ye nyin kontiro ke ata anyama wol fanan I traintale I paretale pour kata.
Danaka comme training from bang still now training man bang comme nga fala nyame nga sign nga TOT ke so sign nga nyin TOT me nga mol train fo nyin training banta nimbata will be a step down training nala most likely next week we be start lale in different centers because niaji be nga 4 main centers lesoto banyun nin kanifing will join one training center about 55 trainers will be there. Brikama will be stay separately because Brikama 6 training centers lebije. So all will converge. Nenga centers killing sort of where we are by almost 68 people. So 171 train laje. Then we go to Kuntauru and Kuntauru, Mansakonko. All fana be join together. We have one center and Basi Bajakunda Janyambure. All fana also train together. So new training banta. That is what we call our next step down train. New Banta. Now all these centers will go to their respective centers. Science training centers turning role al soto. Banyun ba fangele. When in Nata KMC you have Bakau as a center, Serekunda West and Serekunda East. In Nata West Coast we have 6 centers lesoto je. Lamen Sukuta, Sanyang, Brikama, kata aning kata Fofoni. Aning Sinchu Alaji, all the 6 centers. So Mansakonko only center Kilinda Malabije, North Bank you have Bara and in Kerawan. Then Kuntaur Janjambure centers so then Basi Bajakunda. So these are the 17 centers. So 17 centers all sign. Nanganyim next week. Will Lebitan Nanyim field staff will Sanabe Memfo Minalonko they are applying on the platform. You will let train.
Okay.
So sign all training kera, sign field work ka start nyadile. 1 week of household listing. Imomo duna korra ko rebe duna korra nyintole korral be register. That's the first step for 1 week. Then after 1 week, then you go back again. You may register, then you go back and do the interview for another 2 weeks. So then I can census with 21 days. So there is no way that coming interview will be correct because already registered. So sanaya fonya menga publicity jamaleke nga jaliba ko invite in useless ST TikTokers kanyelen kafol ngol be useless.
True.
So training fana kata nyameng na tra menka angale kawfo. You are comfortable with English, say interview English. But you be trained in the local language. During the training, after the training, the first 2-3 days, we use English for more conceptual understand terminologies. From there, the next other days, we use local languages. So we do in Fula, in Maninka, in Jola, and Sarawak, virtual all the languages. So that once you go to the community, I mean, because the essence of the data collection is to collect the information. And the easiest way to collect information, coming, you talk to the people, now they understand and know. So we train them in their own local languages. This is why we deploy everybody. During the training, we ask you, what's your name, Mr. So-and-so, where do you live? What language you are most fluent with? So indicate, if you say Mandinka, we try to see in the area whereby Mandinkas are somehow dominant. If you say Fula, we see where Fulas are dominant, we send you there, so that at least you don't have any difficulty.
Yes, I am curious to know, how do you, I mean, when I was a little boy, when they talk about counting, I think about counting each person. Is that how you do it? You count the whole people in the Gambia to know how many people are here?
Counted. So what we do is we do it by targeting households. Like if we come to your household and you are the household head, or there is someone who is knowledgeable about the household, we interview that person.
Okay.
How many people live in this household? What are their names? What is their level of education? What is their marital status? And what is their employment status? So we ask the household head or any knowledgeable member about the member, and the member reports on.
And we had a discussion with this over the weekend. I think one of the things that I believe you tried to get across when the kind of sensitization was to say to people, one of the reasons we want you to cooperate is not because if you tell us there are 20 people in your household, we're going to tax you more or anything like that.
Exactly.
It's not about that. It's about just counting the numbers of people in the country. And, you know, kind of getting people to get that concept into their heads, really, and so that they would cooperate with the process.
Is there any data confidentiality, I mean, in the process?
In fact, data confidentiality is covered in the statistics law. And all our forms, we always have a clause on confidentiality. That user data is protected and it will be handled with, it will be used for only statistical purposes. And usually we focus on the aggregates, not the units.
Not the,
for example, someone cannot spot you from the data. No, we say this percentage of people in this area. This percentage. So we don't. We are only interested in the aggregates, not the.
Not how many people live in Mr. Balde's compound.
In my compound.
Yes, exactly. So when we are also disseminating the data, we remove names. And location. So that other users of the data cannot track you from the data set. So we anonymize the data before dissemination.
Okay, all right. So finally, gentlemen, what other thing do you want to share? Janimbe Mbesarudi.
Comme sana nyimem foten lafta pruka ka mulla man yandi ko comme abe UN la statistics act kone. UN principle of statistics comme confidentiality. Kankat lu mulla man ne ko ke kibaro men talbulu. Namanke doko kola mantak modo buka kan hanan telephone office to namanke comme nga kibaro menta mudo buka di modo la kibaro ninga ta du nimba safela fana banga ko ite tole katara kairo bal nimbala ninda rela sate to ninga kibaro nyinta comme ni itela kuma ko memfo akam da ko membe sate be itela kuma ko memfo ale memfo comme do sate be mo be mu sate mu mela kawalati abraman ko comme laminité nyum photo to ngen kibaro to lamina kuma ko memfo nyin sate to ala ko rako no fatumate kuma kan ninkum ni abe kafunyo ka kum ninkum wolbe kede nyin sate ko wolbe that is called we ka wala for the aggregate so me molla manela ko se makoy na do kulal binala le c'est sawreño yayi kibaro dila kibaro amanta la fonk fe namen ko commune do ko because man sa kunna buka do ko keno namna nyin kibaro amandu mol kay nyin kibaro ta ni aje pompol be sotla courant be sotla foye du mol kan ni e kacha yalla ko mune be mol la problème oti ni o kibaro soto den yo kibaro di mansala de mansa sala sinala ko ñun tunna kare to ñine muy la problème ñine muy la hajoti say mansa sina ay mako roke ba ningi man du mol kan mansa talon mol la problème mu nete ha so mansa bu kam ko indi comme mo konkili nalla problème but mo jamal la problème ko lekka
to ñala yo abarka finally
So for me, my final point will be to appeal to the general public and assure them that GBOS will never attempt to reclassify any group in the country. That's not we are very professional people and we'll always perform our duties without interference from anybody. What we have on the recruitment platform, contrary to the press release given by Mama Kande, what we have there is language spoken.
Yes, correct. Yes.
So it was not even on ethnicity. It asked what language do you speak well. You select second language, you select Mandinka. Third language, you select Jola. So a person can even select 5 languages. So it was not on ethnicity. We only have the ethnicity question on the census form. And on the form you can see on our press release, Mandinkas, Jahankas, they are all classified as one group. Jolas, Karoninkas, they are classified under one group. Fulas and the various groups, we classify them as one. So we will never reclassify anybody. And we know that after his press release, because it's a digital world, the information filtered down to the radios and people were broadcasting. So we are afraid that when we go out to certain communities, we may face this resistance. But we will never attempt to reclassify anybody.
Yes,
so we want the people to know. If you can come to the office, we'll even share the questionnaire with you.
And somebody even brought it to our office, and we said to them they should get in touch with you guys.
In fact, the questionnaire was validated at the national level. Where all stakeholders met, persons with disability, various tribes. Since 2022, we've been meeting on the questionnaire. And all tribes are represented. So how can you manipulate that? You cannot. We only adopt when the group unanimously agree, yes, this works. Then that's the time we adopt. But it's not a questionnaire from GBOS and they are imposing.
Well, I think this people need to understand what it really means. I mean, sometimes before you release a press release or something, you need to understand what actually what you're complaining about. We are fond of just seeing things and commenting or sending other things. But it shouldn't prevent you from doing your job. You have to do what is right. So gentlemen, thank you very much for coming on this program. At the end of the process, we will also call you again so that we can know how everything transpired.
And also know the population.
Absolutely, yes, we need to know.
Statistics General will have to come here and discuss.
Exactly. So, viewers, Mr. Ade, I mean,
reach the end of the line. But before they go, I think we have to say that these are two of the smartest dressed gentlemen we've had as guests. I don't know whether this is standard for GBOS, but I mean, from head to toe. I mean, Mr. Kante, we were almost going to steal his suit from him. We liked it so much.
All right, gentlemen. Thank you. Viewers, be reminded this program is sponsored by Olinda, Lido, and Cow Milk, the OIC Secretariat. We have a few days to go to the OIC Summit in the Gambia. Until we come here again, Tata.
Lady Gambia non hebi weltare maunde wadande on OIC Summit hikka woni labi sappo e joyi be dum bada he aduna he ngal dental wadat balde nay ha balde joyi he lewru me hitande 2024 lambe horebe leydele dewbe horebe leydele wondi hen e ciapande joyi e jeedi wodbe ngarnobe leydele moen ndendube e organisation of Islamic Cooperation be tawtoyde dum he der leydi men wonat non ko yejjittaake ha abadan hikka non ngal dental ko be jewtata hen ko woni no jam nyibirta darde ne podden daro hangonen gotum en fof njaden pour bamtare men beydare hakkune men he kulle yahotiral e leydele julbe he aduna he fof be nodda non bibbe leydi Gambia fof en fof ngaren gonen gotum ballen lamongu e nder darde ne be dari hangal dental wadani no be jidri dum ngare jabboden be hobbe teddube kollen be cosaneji men aadaji men e leydi men no weydiri e aduna he ngare denten he o tarikh daroden enen fof hangal dental OIC badangal do he leydi Gambia wona dental gal yejjitake